Subject of scrutiny here. So I seen this video on YouTube. I was bored. Caught my eye, and it's a little bit older, and it's from Free Thought. You can look them up if you want to look at it. I'm citing this is all fair use. Anyway, I'm gonna play a little bit of it, and we're gonna go from there. What I think.
How long did you work at Planned Parenthood?
I was there for 8 years.
And what did you do while you were there?
I was the clinic manager, so I took care of just the day-to-day operations, hiring and firing personnel, making sure that our budgets were maintained, including our abortion quota that we had to maintain every month. So that was pretty much my job.
By that you mean you had to perform a certain number of abortions in that clinic every month?
That's right. So every abortion facility within Planned Parenthood has a monthly abortion quota that they must meet.
Why?
That's how they make their money. About 50% of their income is just cash from abortion services. And so in order to keep their clinics open, they have to sell so many abortions.
But what about all the mammograms and life-saving work they do?
Yeah, funny about mammograms, there's not a Planned Parenthood in the country that provides mammogram services. They don't provide prenatal care. They don't do a lot of the things that they say that they do.
A mammogram because you thought you might have breast
So
cancer.
basically it's an abortion clinic.
Pretty much, yeah. They provide a few things, STD testing and birth control, but they provide birth control because, according to their own numbers, 54% of women who have abortions were using birth control at the time that they got pregnant. So they know that that's just a way to get these young girls, especially, I'm 37 years old. I couldn't remember to take a pill at the same time every day. So, get these young girls in there, put them on a pill or a method with a high human error rate, and eventually they're going to end up pregnant, and that's another way to sell them an abortion.
So they also sell fetal tissue, baby parts, and you saw that happen. What are the economics of that?
Yeah, at the affiliate where I worked, we sold the whole body for about $200 per fetus. That went to a company called Amphioxus, and the Houston facility, the largest. I worked for that affiliate. It's the largest abortion facility in the Western Hemisphere, second largest to China, and
oh man.
We had capacity to perform about 75 abortions every day, 6 days a week. So if you look at even half of those women, having tissue that is suitable to be donated or sold, then you're looking at over $2 million a year just at that one clinic.
But I thought that Planned Parenthood or any facility like Planned Parenthood is not allowed to sell human parts.
Yeah, it's interesting because the way that they line item everything, it looks like it's a legitimate business transaction. But because the law says that they can charge for things like shipping and handling and things like that. And so if they line item it correctly, then it looks like that you're just paying for handling services or for shipping services. But really, there is no additional handling involved. There is no additional shipping involved. Amphioxus came and picked up the parts from.
Let's continue on. So first of all, let's go to Amphioxus and look at their main website and see what they say. And it's Bloomberg. Shocking. So why this company, 1995, biotechnology company specializing in cultured human liver cell lines with kits for drug discovery, toxicology, plasma protein production, and artificial liver support. And that's it. And they give you some phone number, which I tried calling. It doesn't really go anywhere, and the people that answer are very rude. But let's go back to Amphioxus again. I was trying to figure out who owned them. And it says Bloomberg, but it says right here, It says Amphioxus Cell Tech Incorporated is a privately held company in Houston, Texas, and is a unknown business. So you can't. I called them and asked them. They wouldn't do it. This is the person. There's a president of the company, but he's not the owner. I want to know who owns it. Like who put the money out to start this business. That's what I want to know. I can't find it. I went in circles. Maybe one of you guys can find it, but it's Amphioxus. So Amphioxus. But then but while we're talking about Planned Parenthood, let's look at some of the history of Planned Parenthood. Boom. Okay. Here we go. Planned Parenthood, 100 years strong. Okay, it says October 16th, 1916. And then it says Margaret Sanger, PDF, our founder, Planned Parenthood. So that's her name. Margaret Sanger is the one who founded Planned Parenthood. Okay. So back in 1916 in New York. Okay, remember that. New York, 1916, Margaret Sanger. Now let's go to Margaret Sanger and let's look up some of her very funny quotes here. Here's one of her and Hillary Clinton. And it says, Margaret Sanger said, and I quote, "People are like human weeds and colored people are like human weeds and need to be exterminated." And that's Margaret Sanger. And then Hillary Clinton says, "I admire Margaret Sanger enormously. Her courage, her tenacity, her vision." Hillary Clinton, a Democrat. So there's that. Let's look at some of the other ones here. And it says, "The emergency problem of segregation and sterilization must be faced immediately. Every feeble-minded girl or woman of the hereditary type, especially of the moron class, should be segregated during the reproductive period. We prefer the policy of immediate sterilization, of making sure that parenthood is absolutely prohibited of the feeble-minded," or to the feeble-minded, I'm sorry. There's a good one. Here's another one. "We want to exterminate the Negro population." And then let's see here. Let's see if I can find some other good ones. Where's that one that I liked so much? Okay. Here we go. This is a good one too. I like. This is a continuation of the original. "I admire Margaret Sanger enormously. Her courage, her tenacity, her vision, and taking on archetypes, taking on attitudes and accusations flowing from all directions. I am really in awe of her, and there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from her life and from the cause she launched and fought for and sacrificed so bravely." Was that the racist human population control agenda? And then here we go. Here's another good one. "Sanger charmed the black community's most distinguished leaders into accepting her plan, which was designed to their own detriment. Genetically inferior." Margaret Sanger said, "Such a plan," and it's in quotation or in parentheses, "the Negro Project," "such a plan would reduce the birth rate among the diseased, the sickly, the poverty-stricken, and antisocial classes, elements unable to provide for themselves, and the burden of which we are all forced to carry." So that's the welfare state. And then you look at this. "Almost 80% of Planned Parenthood facilities are located in minority communities." Then it says, "Abortion is genocide. It's killing populations. It's killing generations. Certainly the population that is most impacted by abortion in America is the black community." And niece of Dr. Martin Luther King. And that's true. And it says right here, another good quote from her. Okay, it says, "We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population." And then it says, "Call the Smithsonian at blah, 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 and tell them to remove the bust of Margaret Sanger and bust racism." So, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on and on about Margaret Sanger. There's so many crappy quotes like that from her. I mean, she was obviously heavily racist. And I mean, everybody's a little racist. I'm sorry. It's just natural behavior. Anybody that's different from you, you're automatically going to shy away. I mean, all these people can virtue signal all they want, but in my opinion, I think it's a genetic thing that people are just naturally a little bit racist. And they've done studies and stuff, and it's been proven. So you could, virtue signal all you want about this. And then here's a National Right to News Life. I don't know if this is like a Christian company, but there's really good stuff in here. And there's a great timeline. Okay, so at first, basically it says some people, but Planned Parenthood actually took an anti-abortion stance when they first opened. And a 1963 pamphlet said that an abortion kills the life of the baby after it has begun. And that's right up here on the top. And then it says, it says many questions as to the sincerity of this declaration, because just a few years later, it says officially allowed in America, but there's little doubt that Planned Parenthood soon changed its tune, fiercely fighting to legalize abortion and going on to become the nation's largest abortion chain and most powerful abortion lobby. In 2009, PPFA, which is Planned Parenthood, clinics aborted over 329,000 babies, which were sold. So 329,000 babies, and that was in 2009. That's 8 years ago? Yeah. Okay, but I mean, the links are here if you want to look at this a little more, but it has a great timeline down here towards the bottom I was reading, where they show how they've just slowly, even when abortions dropped and when they picked up, every year they just slowly picked up more and more and more of the market for this particular service. And then I started thinking, okay, well, what are they doing with them? And then you hear all this stuff about the elites and blah, blah, blah. And it says, adrenalized blood drinking addiction among the global elite. This is back from 2013. And, you know, they're not going to go crazy. I mean, but you can look up the satanic ritual abuse survivors. And I mean, those people aren't lying. Like, you can't fake real, you know? So when people are faking it, it's pretty obvious to tell. A lot of times you can tell that they're acting. But when someone is legitimately hurt and they're legitimately like trying to hold back tears while trying to get out what they want to say, and I mean, you like I said, I've watched them and it passes the smell test. And you know, a lot of times when they try to fake this kind of stuff, it looks like shit. And you know, the devil's in the details. But anyway. It says members of satanic cults like the Illuminati are subject to brainwashing, and this is why some of them get obsessed with drinking human blood. No, they're Satanists. Above is a link to an article that explains how to deprogram mind control victims. This is information you've never read before. It also talks about CIA, MK Ultra research, and Nazi connections. Blah blah blah. Might be suppressed. I've only been the adrenaline. Okay. It says, unless you have been a vegetarian since birth, you have almost certainly eaten adrenalized meat. The adrenaline in the meat is like a drug that makes you feel stronger and powerful. The people who run the modern meat-producing industry know this and deliberately design the packing plants so to terrorize the animals before they are slaughtered. Creating adrenalized meat. People become addicted to eating adrenalized meat and buy more of it, but the practice of creating adrenalized meat is nothing new. In fact, it is an ancient secret art associated with the occult. Ooh. When I was a child, I knew a farmer who produced adrenalized goat's blood, which generational Satanists like to drink. I drank some once, not in a ritual way, but just out of youthful curiosity. It took a long time to hike in the woods afterwards, and I noticed that I could walk longer and faster than usual. The man who harvested the goat's blood liked to mix it with wine and herbs, calling it mysticated wine. The members of his coven believed that it gave them occultistic powers and that they lived longer. I'm not a Satanist, but I knew some when I was young, and I had some contact with the Illuminati insiders in recent years. Blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that at all. But it says, which I think other people should know about, is that among the generationally wealthy Luciferian aristocrats, there is the habit of drinking adrenalized human blood. For these aristocrats, the ideal form of blood is from a healthy child who is ritualistically sacrificed. Such adrenalized blood is really an addictive drug. The difference between the adrenalized meat that you've eaten and the adrenalized blood that the global elite drink is like the difference between chewing cocoa leaf and smoking crack cocaine. Former FBI Special Agent Ted Gunderson, when he was still alive, often pointed out that the FBI kept exact records of every bank robbery in America, but couldn't tell you how many children go missing in this country. Ted Gunderson did extensive research on this subject, and he estimated that about 2,500 children go missing every day. This takes place every day here in America. So, boom, there it is there. And this is an older one, but what I also thought was funny is this guy talks about, like, oh, they're brainwashed, the Satanists and the Illuminati, so, you know, you can't really get mad at them, is kind of what he says. And it says, in such rituals, the abducted children are terrorized and tortured, which adrenalizes their blood. Then they are killed and their blood is harvested. This blood is given to wealthy Illuminati aristocrats who are addicted to drinking it. Not all billionaires are blood drinkers, but some are. The practice has gone on in secret ancient times and it still goes on every day. Welcome to the real world. I managed to be avoiding being recruited into the Illuminati, and I never drank adrenalized human blood. When I was young, I knew people who did, and I can tell you it is an addiction just like asm. And then, as I've spoken on the radio about Satanism and written on this website, I've had to think more and more about my childhood. Me that I've eaten adrenalized meat is such a regular basis over the years. I tend to leap in the direction of vegetarian foods. And kosher, okay, boom. This is where I want to point it out right here. Kosher meat is not adrenalized, and there are enlightened farmers who avoid adrenalizing their animals when they slaughter them. Okay, right when he says that, that's when I knew that this particular website, he's giving you a lot of truth here at the top, but here's the little bits of misinformation he's dumping in right here. So then you think, okay, kosher meat is not adrenalized. Okay, so obviously, the Jewish people are doing it correctly, right? Okay. Let's continue on, and first let's look at the children missing first, because that's the other one from Slate, fair use, and you can clearly see 800,000 missing kids, really, and it says making sense of child abduction statistics, and it says 2 boys abducted in Missouri were found in a St. Louis suburb last Friday in a home of a pizza shop employee. One had been missing for less than a week, the other for more than 4 years. News reports cited a statistic that 800,000 children every year, or about 2,000 a day. Seriously, how reliable are these numbers? Reliable enough, but easily misinterpreted. So let's say, half of them are kids that run away and come back. Okay, so 400,000, so 1,000 a day? But like most crime scene abduction numbers are fungible since they depend so much on whether the crime gets reported and how you define abduction. Saying a child missing can mean any number of things. A child who has run away from home counts for some as a the same as a kidnapped murder victim. So you can't really super focus on that, but I mean, how many times does your phone go off with an Amber Alert? I sign up for them and that shit goes off a lot. So, but anyway, let's get back to the whole that guy's misinformation thing that he was doing. Let me look here. So I had to go through like 20 different things to get really information. Before they said koshering meat just meant that it had to be a certain way, and it didn't say what the certain way. I know how you make kosher meat. I know what they do, but I'm just going to go through it here so we can kind of see how the misinformation is in here. It says, you shall not eat, if this is from their Bible or whatever, you shall not eat any blood, the Torah I think is what it's called. You shall not eat any blood, whether that of fowl or of beast, in any of your dwellings. And it says, for generations the process of koshering, which says removing the blood from meat, was the domain of the Jewish homemaker, often involving all the family members in the various steps. Today, rather than being a familiar aspect of the Jewish home, koshering is usually done at the butcher shop beyond sight of the consumer, because it's horrible what they do. However, many families still do kosher their meat. Whether you entrust the koshering of your meat to a qualified butcher or choose to do it yourself, a working knowledge of the process is an important aspect of understanding a kashrut. Koshering is the process where the blood is removed from the flesh of meat and fowl before it is prepared for eating. Only meat from okay, this is the part I want you to focus on here. It says, only meat from kosher animals properly slaughtered and with the forbidden parts already removed. So what are the forbidden parts? I'm assuming the genitals, the feet maybe. I'm assuming genitals. And it says, with the forbidden parts already removed, may be koshered. So it says, right here, it basically says that they have to, chop off some parts before they actually slaughter it? And it says, may be koshered. The koshering process known as melika, salting, entails the following steps: washing or rinsing off the meat, soaking in water, salting or rinsing 3 times. But I want to focus on the top part there. And it says, only meat from kosher animals properly slaughtered and with the forbidden parts already removed. So, hold on a second. Let me think about this. You have to chop off its dick and whatever parts first, and then you can hang it upside down and cut its throat while it's alive and let it sit there and flop around in pain and agonizing and have a really slow, gruesome death. That's what kosher is. That's what kosher meat is. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you right now. because I just love using this guy. Let's do kosher cow slaughter.
In July 2016, undercover investigators from PETA US and Anonymous for Animal Rights traveled to South America to expose one of the cruelest industrial cattle slaughter methods in the world. It's known as shackle and hoist. Paraguay is the 7th largest exporter of beef in the world. 40% of all the kosher beef eaten in Israel comes from Paraguay. This is shackle and hoist kosher slaughter at the Frigochaco slaughterhouse. Workers electrically prod terrified cows into a squeeze box where they chain them by 2 legs. The bottom then drops open, causing the cows to plunge to the kill floor. Workers then hoist the struggling cows by their chained legs and swing them into place. To wrestle the cows' heads into position, workers grab them by the nose with a metal hook and pin their heads to the floor with a sharp-pronged tool called a devil's fork. Using the devil's fork, they wrench the cows' heads back, exposing their throats for the ritual slaughter cut. Teams of kosher slaughterers are sent from Israel to South America. Up to 80% of the kosher meat exported to Israel comes from slaughterhouses that use shackle and hoist methods. Even after the...
So there it is there. Subject to scrutiny. Like, share, subscribe.